Hey everyone, Drew B's Apiary here. It's been 10 days since the last video. Today we're going to be removing the Apivar strips from the hives that we were treating, all 4 of them. Once we're able to do that, I'm going to be adding supers back on top with the drawn comb. So once we have the drawn comb on there, hopefully bees are lucky and we get a somewhat of a fall flow this year from either goldenrod or something similar. Hopefully they can fill it out a little bit so we can get them prepared for winter. So let me get this smoker lit. We'll do that. Maybe we'll go some other stuff while we're out here and go from there. All right, so let's go into this first one. This is the weakest of the 4. The green rock on it. This is the one that I combined the last time. There's not many bees in here, but we're gonna try to see if there's anything that needs to be done, if I need to give them any more eggs or anything for the queen to kind of boost their numbers. But let's go in here and take a peek. Already see the first strip, so we'll get that out of here real quick. A lot more bees than last time. So that's a good sign. When I was out here 7 days ago, there were not very many. Let's see. I'll do my best to try to not grab the actual strip because I'm not wearing gloves right now, and you should be wearing gloves if you're doing this. But I'm trying to do this quickly. Get the strip. In the container, move on to the next one. Okay, let's get these beetle barns out. Let me do a quick inspection up close. Show you guys this. Let's see if I can show you the cluster up close. See, mainly in the middle 5 frames. Still a little bit of unoccupied space on the sides, but I think they can fill it out if I start to feed them a little bit more. Let me pause the video real quick, get in here, and then we'll continue on to the next one. So the good news on this one, folks, is last week when I was here, I thought I had saw the queen, but then I lost her, but she is here, she is laying. There's not a whole lot of cat brood, but she's definitely done a little bit since last week. I'm gonna try to get her up close to the camera. I don't know if you see that white dot right there. Yeah, that's her. It's her running around. So let's get her back in there real quick. This hive, like I said, has had quite a lot of problems. I've no joke. I've made it run the gamut of, starting as a split, putting into a 5-frame nuke, then basically moving it into a normal high body, 10-frame high body like you see right here, and then it just didn't have enough bees in the middle of this summer. She stopped laying. There wasn't enough coverage. The bees weren't able to defend their home, and so they were getting robbed out very quickly. They probably wouldn't have made it if I didn't get involved, to be honest with you. The other hives are beating them up. They were eating through their stores. Queen just flat out stopped laying altogether. Look at that beautiful brood pattern. Look at that. Look at all that cat brood. Hard at work. That's what you want to see. Oh yeah, both sides. All right. Nice tight group. Honey on the sides. But anyways, as I was saying, This one probably wouldn't have made it if I didn't steal from one of the other hives, give them some resources. I had not been using a top feeder on these guys at all this summer, unlike the other ones, and I think that affected them overall, but I'm glad it worked out. It's good to see this much brood. It's good to see this many, you know, newbies on the way in September, because we know that a lot of the bees that are getting laid right now are going to hopefully be our winter bees, or at least will be that transition period from, you know, November onward. So I'm very happy to see all this. I was definitely worried. I was worried that I was going to come in here today and either have still non-laying issues, or that because there were so few bees the last time I was in here, that there was going to be issues of wax moths, or because that has been happening most of the summer for me, which I'm sure for many people it's been the case. And I did not want to have to freeze any frames today, so it's good that I'm coming in here and it's just a get in, get out. I'm going to throw a top feeder on there just so that way they have something, and it's a good feeling. I want to keep feeding them, like I said. I don't know if I'm going to quite put a super on that. Like the other ones I'm going to put a super on today. I think they still need to have a few more bees born before I start throwing a super. It's just going to be too much room for them to defend right now. And the good news is there's a ton of fresh nectar in here. And again, these guys didn't have a top feeder, so that tells me they were doing a good job of foraging for it, or using one of my little external feeders that's a little ways away. But usually the competition is fierce that they lose out to the stronger hives. And the fact that they have a ton of nectar in here tells me that maybe we are starting to get into that flow. I don't know. Let me pause the video and we'll come back to the next one. This is an interesting one, folks. This is my original hive that I've had since the beginning. I used one of the Swiffer sheets. Like I said in the last video, this was the first year that I did Swiffer sheets. But as you can tell, they really chewed it, and I thought it was going to be more shredded on the bottom and puffy. But this thing just got really moist. Maybe the humidity, not exactly sure, but you can tell the moisture got into here before they propolized it, because it's just a mess. Kind of see that up close. A little drier there, but yet top very moist and sticky. It's very interesting to me. A lot more bees obviously in this hive than the last one I just showed y'all. That was expected though. These gals have been doing pretty good. Same thing, I'm gonna remove the Apivar treatment, clean it up a little bit. You can see there's kind of some crazy brace comb going on over here. I don't know what they were doing. But looking thick. They're definitely gonna get a super on right now. Like I said, now that this treatment's gone, I can put my supers back on. And it looks like I'm running in here 9 frames. So I don't think I'm gonna have room to fit a 10th frame in there. I'm gonna have to leave it as an 8 framer for now. But let me get to work on this and we'll go to the next. All right, everyone, at this time, I'm just adding super onto that blue hive. Inspection went well. So it's 9 frames on the bottom and the deep. Didn't do the full 10 because they're so packed in there. They've drawn out so much of that comb. But while I didn't see the queen, I did see fresh eggs, so I'm sure she's in there. I'm not too worried about that right now. So at this point, I'm just giving them more space. I really do think, comment below if you think the flow is going on in your area, because here in North Georgia, I'm definitely seeing a lot of nectar that I personally did not feed this much to the bees over these past little bit. So they're getting it from somewhere. And like I said, it's not here. So maybe it's just me, but if you guys see it, yeah, please comment below, let me know. Some of y'all been doing this a lot longer than I have. Maybe you know, especially if you do live in Georgia or southern Tennessee or, you know, the like. But after I get this on, like I said, this is all got the super on. At this point, I'm gonna throw The that top hide feeder I'm not such a big fan of, but I'm still going to use it. Got 3 of them left. I got to fix 2 of them. It's got 5 in total, and I'll just put some more syrup on them so that way they can fill this out, because this super, like I said, it's all drawn comb but completely empty. So let's get that done, and then we'll go to the next hive and check that one out. I want to go over real quick just for the new beekeepers, because obviously if you guys, anyone who's watching this keeps bees, they already know these things, but I want to go over a few equipment things, just first time recommendations. There's different hive tools out there, okay? This is like a pretty standard one. This is like the J-hook style. If you had to get one, just get the J-hook. All right, this thing makes things a lot easier. I still use the standard one for certain things. Like I like that it's small and flat, and then I can use it to push, or I like to scrape with it more so than this. More so because it's got a, if you look, it's got a shorter edge. I know they make different sizes, but like, at least for the one that you usually see out there is pretty standard. I don't know what that actual width is, but let's just say that's 3/4 of an inch. Probably an inch at the most, but probably 3/4. This one is a lot bigger. I mean, it's a great blade to scrape with, but sometimes it's a little too big. So I very rarely, I mean, it's not that I don't use this side at all, but I mainly use the J-hook for the hook. And where this thing really comes in handy is when you're trying to lift. I don't know if you see this, pull it up close. But basically, if you were in the hive and you were working these and you're trying to get something open, you could just insert this underneath like this. And then as you provide leverage on the one side, if you notice, it's gonna lift, right? And why that's important for you new beekeepers is the propolis here, this like gluey sticky stuff, they're gonna glue those things down. And sometimes this standard tool isn't gonna cut it. I mean, you can use it to like side to side pry, but the J-hook's where it's at. So again, for me, I only really use this for scraping. That's just a recommendation. Do what you need to do, get what you need to buy. Some of you all may have bought like a kit that comes with the standard one, but I'm telling you, you're gonna want a J-hook if you don't have one. Other things that I keep in my little box, like some people actually buy a full-on like beekeeping toolbox. I literally just keep like a Lowe's bucket. It's like a little paint bucket or anything like that. It's not very organized, but it keeps the stuff that I need in there. I usually keep a pair or 2 of tweezers mainly for killing hive beetles, because I like doing that. I don't mind pinching them and getting rid of them if I see them, even though there's other ways to control them that are more faster and less labor intensive. I just keep one just in case I see one, bam, got it. I keep a marking pen. Obviously this year the color was white, so I usually keep one, especially if I lost a queen or I have a new one. The hive ends up making a queen and I've got to mark a new one. I like to keep one of those. I keep 2 different types of ways to catch a queen. I guess it's technically 3, but hear me out real quick. I use both this stainless steel style. I wouldn't get the plastic, but you could. They do sell the plastic ones online, but basically queen can get caught in there. She can't get out. She's too big. Her backside's too big to get out here, but the bees can get in there. So sometimes I'll be doing work. I'll see her. I'll hold that up against the frame, slowly close it, make sure not to pinch her. She gets in there, and I no joke, I'll just leave it on the side like that. The bees will tend to her. Yeah, she gets nervous, but you can also do a push cage. Here's a small push cage where literally you just press it into the frame. Like, you know, this doesn't really have anything on it. This is an example. I mean, you would just take a frame and this would just go right through the wax and hold there. And again, same thing. She can't get out the sides, but the bees can go in there to her. And this is a great way if you wanted to halt the brood cycle. I wouldn't do that with this. This would be a bad idea to do that with, but basically this is for a temporary hold. I mean, they both are for a temporary hold, but this little metal one is definitely for that. But the push-in cage, I've seen some people do that. Now, obviously this one's super tall. They make some shorter ones, I believe. So this one might not fit if you push it all the way in, because it basically pushes all the way into the wax. And it may be too tight of a fit for 10 frames in there, but for like a 9-frame hive, you may be able to punch the cage in there, you know, keep her caged. It breaks the brood cycle, especially if you were trying to treat for varroa with like oxalic in the summer, which I didn't do that this summer. Like I said, as you all saw, I was doing the Apivar treatment this year. So maybe next year I'll try something like that if I really want to, but I would also need several of these. And like I said, the shallower ones that I could easily push in there. This specific one I'm holding is probably more of a temporary hold one. They make the little plastic ones that are a little wider, give the queen a little bit more room, that you can punch in there, and the spacing is such that it's a little bit more flush with the actual frame. So keep that in mind. I have a spacing tool. This is just like a cheap plastic one in case you do want to do 9 frames. Like I said, some of my deeps get so thick with wax and honey that I can't keep 10 frames in there. So this is a good way to measure it out. The little, basically the little notches right there, they are kind of telling you where the gaps, should be self-explanatory. The wood frames basically would line up right here, right? Okay. So not necessary. This is totally not something you need, but something that sometimes I'll just use real quick. Just be like, yeah, that looks all in line. And you kind of want to keep everything in line too, so that way your bees don't draw out the wax in really weird irregular patterns if it's not properly spaced. So with 10 frames, it's not usually an issue, but if you're ever going to do 9 because maybe a few frames are too bulky, you just have to keep that in mind. Otherwise, be prepared for really wacky, weird things. Here's something that I bought that I thought I would like, but I don't anymore, and so I don't recommend it. But it's basically a frame grabber, frame holder. Basically tongs like this that go in there. You get a good grip and you pull it out. The nice thing about this is it's very, like, you're not gonna probably, especially if you wear gloves like me, like I don't do this barehanded, some people do. You know, sometimes with gloves you're gonna squish a bee because you just don't feel them. So this is great to not squish bees, in my opinion, because they're usually smart enough to get away from this, from what I've noticed when I put it in there, and it's much more stable to grab out from the middle than it is to like try to like wiggle your hands on the side and struggle with that. The problem with this is every time you do it, you're probably gonna damage a little bit of the comb underneath, because even though this part's grabbing underneath the wood on the top bar of the frame, it's still probably gonna squish some of the wax, and especially if there's honey in there, you could end up having like a whole honey spill. So I personally don't recommend this, but just something to keep in mind. And I know I kind of jumped ahead with the queen catching things. This is, I really, for a new beekeeper, to mark your queens, this little cup right here, basically got like a little soft plunger so you don't squish your queen. If I can get one on video sometime in the future, I'll show you guys how I do it, but for the purposes of right now, I'm not gonna try to mark a queen. So all my queens are already marked in here. I've done them all. But this is a gentle way of basically, sometimes I'll catch her. I'm not comfortable enough to grab her with my bare hands, gloved or ungloved. I'm just not there yet as a beekeeper. But if you are, great, you could grab her, you put her in there, close that so she can't get anywhere, and then basically you just want her back right here. And you have to be careful because you could squish her, even though it's you know, a squishy styrofoam, you could still hurt her. Like if you pushed all the way up on that, she's gonna get squished and she'll die. So this is just a gentle way of you slowly ease it up. She's still in there, she's still in there. Get her to just the point that she can't walk around right there. Use your pen and marker, and too easy. But I definitely have been worried. There was one time where I marked a queen where I think I was just a little too much pushy, you know, up to the top, and I worried that I injured her because, no joke, about a week or two later, I had, she was gone. I don't know if she got injured and they killed her or she left, but she was just gone, and I had to get a brand new queen. I had to raise a new queen myself. So I recommend those things. I'm gonna finish up this hive real quick, and then we will go to the red one. Like I said, all I'm doing is adding supers at this point, but I just want to take a quick break and show you guys just some basic gear. I like these little side frame holders. That's another piece I'd recommend. Bee brush, probably don't need it, but I will say it is great when bees start to congregate. Push them in, so that way when you put your boxes back on top, you're not squishing them. Some beekeepers don't care. I've watched so many videos where beekeepers are just like dropping the box, and I got it. If you get like 100 hives, 50 hives, it's hard to baby every single one. But if you're a small beekeeper and you do have the time to do that, you know, I try to do my best not to squish any bees. I don't want to lose any bees. Most beekeepers don't want to lose any bees, but it is part of the thing. And soft brush, while it's really not necessary, it does help for those, because you just squish them in, or if you're trying to get them off of a frame, just do that way too. But that's it for the most basics of gear. Smokers, not gonna really go over, because to be honest, most of the smokers are the same. There's no really point in going in over that. And that's it. All right, folks, I'm almost done here. Today, this is the last hive, the red one. I just added a super after doing my inspection. I have fresh eggs in there. I didn't check the there were definitely some frames I didn't get a chance to check that I didn't see the queen, but again, I saw fresh eggs, so I'm sure she's in there. She's definitely laying. There was some good brood pattern and everything. All I'm doing now, like I said, is adding the last super up top, because again, I really do think my bees are getting nectar somewhere, and whether that's the flow or something else, I want to try to capitalize on that before going into the winter. So that's something I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to throw those top hive feeders on the ones that I'm going to put it on, fill them up with sugar water, and that's going to be a wrap for today. So I'm very pleased with today. No pest situations. Like I said, these Apivar bottoms have been killing it for keeping beetles. I mean, like, I've found so many dead beetles. Like I think I only saw one beetle crawling around on my frames today, which was a pretty good feeling, especially this time of the year. I know it's going to start to slow down, but to see so many beetles that are just getting crushed by the diatomaceous on the bottom of the Apivar bottom board has just been very satisfying. Didn't see any wax moths, which is good. So those are great. The other thing I want to show you guys is, I'm not sure if you've seen this before. I'm going to grab the lid. They're a little expensive, but I did want to try it out and give them some business because I like the idea. Is these Hive Butler boxes, they're probably way too expensive for your normal beekeeper. I just wanted to try one out, so I got a normal box with like a standard box, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like on the inside, and as well as an uncapping tank. So this is part of an uncapping tank that I'm kind of using as a storage box. If you notice, the bottom is ventilated, and the reason why it's ventilated is so when you cut the honey, it'll run down. So basically, I'll do a better, someone wants a better example of it, but essentially there's a second lower box that this goes on. You uncap in here, the vents allow it to drip down into your uncapping tank, and there's a honey gate on the front. Again, this one doesn't have the honey gate, but that one's at my other location. So I'm just using it as a box, but I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because I like these boxes. I don't think I'll be buying more of them, but it's just because they're so expensive. I think you can do the same with just basically something like this, some totes from Lowe's or Home Depot, so long as they're clear and see-through. I wouldn't recommend anything dark, obviously, because of hive moths. You definitely want something that light can penetrate. You also don't have to even do this. There's plenty of people that store their drawn comb outside, and for your new beekeepers, you'll quickly find that drawn comb that's unattended in a dark spot is going to get ruined by the wax moths. So this is these plastic boxes are a decent storage container too, because again, I've been using them as such when I'm not using it as an uncapping tank. They're kind of see-through, so light does kind of penetrate through, and so it should keep the wax moths at bay from using it as trying to get in. The lid's really secure. Like I said, this lid right here is perforated on the top with vents, so that way if you caught a swarm, you could literally put the swarm on some frames, put them in here, and as you can see, these are grooved slots, which are pretty nice. Whereas like a normal box, you just be tossing stuff in there. These are great if you actually want to catch a swarm, or you're doing an inspection and you need somewhere to put your queen, or you want to be gentle with the bees. You don't have to lean them up against the hive at all, or you don't have to hang them on a hanger, just exposed. You can keep them in a safe spot. If you got the queen, you know what frame she's on, you can literally put the frame in here because you're like, oh, I know where she's at, she's in the box. If you worry about something her flying away, you can put the ventilated lid on top so oxygen can get through. This Hive Butler company, they also make solid lids, so that way if you don't want the ventilation, you just want straight storage, you can do that. They have those options available to you. But I just want to bring that up because this thing's pretty handy. I think it's worth, as a beekeeper, maybe having one or two, but you do not need to be dropping big money buying a whole bunch of these things. It's not worth it. You can save your money doing other things unless you just want to spend money. So anyways, I just kind of went on a tangent with that. If you guys have any other questions, let me know, but that should be it for today. Thank you so much.